Saudi Arabia posts a $15.3 billion budget surplus, and Saudi Aramco posts an 82% rise in net profit. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Saudi Arabia has reported a $15.3 billion budget surplus for Q1 as it keeps spending conservative. Total government revenue was $74 billion, 36% more than the same quarter last year. But spending rose only 4% over the same period to $58.76 billion. Capital expenditures fell 1% as the kingdom relies more on its sovereign wealth fund for projects and domestic investment. The boost was mainly driven by oil revenue, which rose 58% compared to last year. Saudi Aramco reported an 82% year-on-year rise in its net profit to $39.5 billion in Q1, driven by high oil prices. Cash flow from operating activities stood at $38.2 billion in the quarter, compared with $26.5 billion in Q1 2021. Free cash flow rose by 68% year-on-year to $30.6 billion. Saudi's public investment fund has launched a coffee company in a bid to promote the kingdom's coffee beans. The Saudi Coffee Company is expected to invest $319.9 million over the next decade in the national coffee industry. The aim is to increase annual production from 300 tons to 2,500 tons. The PIF says the newly established firm will support the national coffee industry through the entire supply chain from bean to cup. Egypt is offering state assets to private investors as part of a government plan to fully withdraw from certain sectors of the economy. Egypt aims to attract $40 billion in investment over the next 4 years. It wants private investment to rise to 65% of the country's total within 3 years, up from around 30% at present. The private sector will be offered projects in electric vehicles, data centers, energy, and communication towers. China's economic activity cooled sharply in April as widening COVID-19 lockdowns took a heavy toll on consumption, industrial production, and employment. Retail sales in April shrank 11.1% from a year earlier. That's the biggest contraction since March 2020. Dining out services were suspended in some provinces, which led to a 22.7% drop in catering revenue in April. China's auto sales plunged 47.6% from a year earlier as car makers slashed production amid empty showrooms and parts shortages. Ryanair has posted $369 million loss for the 12 months to end March, and it says it's impossible to accurately forecast anything beyond hoping for a return to reasonable profitability this year. The Irish airline, which is operating more flights than any other European carrier, says it plans to grow its traffic to 165 million passengers this year, up from 97 million a year ago and a pre-COVID-19 record of 149 million. But Ryanair officials say it's impractical, if not impossible, to provide a sensible or accurate profit guidance range, given the potential continued risk the war in Ukraine and COVID poses to bookings. Reliance Industries plans to take over 50 to 60 small grocery and non-food brands within 6 months as it aims at setting up its own $6.5 billion consumer goods business. Billionaire Mukesh Ambani's leading retailer targets to compose a portfolio of grocery, household, and personal care brands. It's in the final stages of talks with about 30 well-known niche local consumer brands to fully buy them or form joint venture partnerships for sales. Meanwhile, Adani Group is reportedly nearing a deal to acquire a controlling stake in Holcim's businesses in India. The group is finalizing details of a $10 billion deal for 63.1% of Ambuja Cements, along with related assets. A transaction could be announced in the coming days. Gautam Adani's Adani Group has been moving beyond its core business of operating ports, power plants, and coal mines, and into areas like data centers, airports, digital services, and retail. And that brings us to today's Forbes RealTime Billionaires ranking, where our biggest winner today is Gautam Adani, up $2.8 billion with net wealth of $105.9 billion. Our second biggest winner today is his counterpart, Mukesh Ambani, up $1.2 billion with net wealth of $92 billion. And our third place winner is Retail King Radkishan Damani, up $987 million with net wealth of $16.4 billion. Check out our website and our social media for all of the latest billionaires news. Cryptocurrency exchange FTX's founder says Bitcoin has no future as a payments network and criticized the digital currency for its inefficiency and high environmental costs. Sam Bankman-Fried says the Bitcoin network is not a payments network and it's not a scaling network. The world's largest crypto touched its lowest since December 2020 last week after the collapse of Terra USD, a so-called stablecoin. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.